For the second part of our presentation here, we're offering the Colorado Riverfront construction connecting communities via riverfront trails. Again, my name is Linza. I'm the Parks Manager with Mesa County. I'm also here with Trevor Wickersham with Western Colorado Conservation Corps. Together we've put this together just to kind of show you very briefly of things we're going through to build these trails. Things we're going to be talking about today are some of the permitting. As all of you know, doing anything along the river is just an unbelievable amount of permitting you have to do. Some specialized construction materials that we're trying out. Some small little examples of some riverbank armoring we're doing. It's an example that we worked with on the U.S. Fish and Wildlife on their endangered fish program. And then Trevor will come up and talk about what the Conservation Corps does and how it's working with us in this project. So some of the possible permitting requirements, a lot of times when you're building these trails, you're down in the bottom of a valley and typically a lot of roads are built right next to these rivers. So a lot of the times you're within a right-of-way. A lot of the stuff we happen to be building is within CDOT right-of-way. So just some, and this is just, again, just brief, brushing it by you that, you're going to need initial site assessments. They include historical review, environmental records review, and site reconnaissance. We're trying to build all of our trails to the NEPA environmental level and all the regulations that are involved with that. Natural resource assessments and figures, cultural resource surveys, wetland delineation is also another big one. Other considerations are utility clearances, right-of-way clearances, and design criteria. All of these things, as you put them through planning approvals, you're going to need to have all of this permitting lined up. It's just extensive, the amount of permitting when trying to build these riverfront trails down long rivers and long roads. Some other types of permitting is, we are kind of the first, Mesa County, as we built these, to actually put these trails through our county planning approval process. I'm a firm believer in that. It sends it out to all the authorities. It gives people the chance, besides the public hearings that we have during the design engineering, but the chance to comment on our trails. It never hurts to get the information out there for something you might not know before you go build or dig and find something that you might not want to. So we do put them through the major or minor site planning approval processes. Obviously, you're going to need your construction plans and specifications. Army Corps of Engineers for permits. The Corps of Engineers do look at these projects as linear transportation projects, floodplain development permits, drainage reports, conditional letters of map revisions if you're going to be working within the waterways, geotechnical reports, pavement designs, geological hazard reports, stormwater management plans, and access agreements and permits are all stuff that we're having to do pretty much for every one of the trails that we're working on. Other considerations is federal funding. Whenever you bring federal funding, and we have been doing that as well, it opens up a whole other door of the type of permitting that you have to go through. We're working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, wildlife fencing, threatened and endangered species, backwater WEIR cuts, which you'll see coming up here in a little bit. We worked out a great agreement with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife. They gave us access onto a property and easement. We built them a backwater cut into the bank for their fish program. Easement acquisition, working with the private sector, as was mentioned, crossing drainages and the drainage authorities, and then all the local intergovernmental agreements, not only for making and building the trails, but for maintaining the trails when they're done. So there's just an absolute slew of permitting. I think I've spent the last 5 years, 4.5 years of it, I've spent designing, engineering, and permitting, and about 6 months of building. And it's just amazing how extensive it is. Some of the specialized construction materials we're using, this product, Stabilize, is being used in the St. George area, down south, wherever they have real sandy soils. It's used under roadways. It's typically used where you have a lot of water in an area. It basically turns dirt into concrete. It's a great product. I haven't seen it work in our situation yet because of the low rivers that we experienced this last spring, but it's looking like this year that our rivers will come up. We're using this in areas where typically the water just recedes in and then recedes out. It's not like whitewater, it's not rapids coming through it, it's just backwater areas. All of our trails are being built at grade. We don't want to stop those waters from going in and out. Fish and Wildlife is very concerned about that. The Corps is very concerned about it. So what we do is, in areas that we know are typically going to be flooded, coming underneath the Parkway Bridge annually, you get about a foot of water in there, and then it recedes out. We actually dug it out about 16 to 18 inches, brought in some pit run, and got that down, compacted in real good. Then we come in and we actually added some dirt, some base course material, and ripped it all up and just make it real soft. Then that specialized contractor comes in and starts putting down the live product right on top of the ripped up materials. You can see the Parkway Bridge here, and typically this area right in through here gets backwater every spring during the high river. And so we're just trying to stabilize underneath the trail so it doesn't soften, that we have a good hard surface. So here he is just lying it down. It's coming out of a hopper type machine. Here's the trail again, just where all of the material is added to it. Then they come in and they add some polymers into it that helps it stick together. And then they till it all in with a water injection system as well. And when they're done, it actually almost looks like pavement. After 24 hours, you can walk up to it with like a crowbar and scratch it just like it's concrete, yet it's dirt. And that's about 16 inches deep and still below grade. And then we come in and put the trail, slip form machine the trail right on top of that. We also use it on our shoulders. The whole point of it is to allow the water to come across the trail, do what it's going to do, and come back across the trail and not soften underneath. So I've still yet to see how that works, but from what we've heard from some of the counties down in St. George area, it's working real well in sandy areas. So that's what we're hoping on that. Riverbank armoring, another big issue, working with the Corps. These pictures are actually stretched out a little bit. We're obviously not that steep there. We're not this here. You know, they seem a little bit more stretched out here on this projector than when we put the slide together. It's really important to get this bottom channel, a keyway is what the engineers call it, below the water level and down into the riverbed gravels. So that when you start putting your armoring in on that, you're locking it in to the riverbed gravels. You also then come in with your blankets, line that to protect your smaller soils so that you don't get the erosion coming through them. And these pictures have definitely changed. This is probably close, probably a little bit more of an angle about like this. Even though this doesn't look like big rock, you'll see in another picture it is large rock. We also are firm believers you want to build them from downstream up, continuing to put that rock into and underneath the next one, which literally locks those armors in as you're building them. And then you can kind of see some finished product here. It's, you know, the first rocks that are going in down here in this keyway, those are 2 foot and bigger rocks. They are boulders. Also very jagular type rock. You don't want rounded rock, something that's smooth on each other. You want something that's going to hold against each other. Well, we actually did some willow planting that Trevor will talk about a little bit, and I just couldn't believe it was growing right out of the rock. It's amazing how that was looking. But really jagular type river material, and we feel that this is going to hold real good. This stuff you see out here during the flood of 2011, this is right behind United and Grand Junction Pipe were just losing property by the minute. It was amazing. We were standing out there watching 10-foot banks of an embankment just drop away into the river. So they were doing everything they could, dumping just a ton of concrete in there trying to save their land. And of course, that's right before we came in with the construction. So then I had to come in, dig all that concrete out, armor it properly, and then what was still out in the river, we pulled that right back onto our armoring just to add some additional protection. And that's what this is here. Our armoring goes down here, it's down in real deep, and then we just pulled this back onto it. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife backwater weir cut that we had done, The trail is actually right along in here. This is a pond. This is their property, and the river's right here on the other side of this bank. We came in, we removed the tamarisk. By the way, I did hear a question on the last person on their presentation of what you're doing with the tamarisk. The Corps would not allow us to spread the chipped tamarisk in over our hydroseeds. They consider that fill in the floodplains. So we had to remove all of our chip piles. But we came in, removed the tamarisk. That's over in here now. Then we dug that same keyway right along in here. I didn't have any real great pictures of it. But then, I mean, they were 3-foot diameter boulders that we put right in along this keyway to really protect that edge where it's going to get its heaviest scour. And then we just ended up just filling this whole keyway about halfway up. You can see it here. This is probably 4.5, 5 feet deep of solid rock. I don't think it's ever going to go anywhere. This is some of the willow staking that we did. We actually cut them along the river, put them in buckets, threw them in the ground, and they just started growing. It was just unbelievable how quick those were growing. So we're hoping this year we get enough water to actually see this thing work. Waters will come in. I think we built it right at about 10,000 CFS. The river will start flowing into this pond area and do what it does, do what the Fish and Wildlife folks want it to do. And after a few weeks, it'll recede. The pond will be there long again. Now I'm going to invite Trevor Wickersham up to speak a little bit about what the Western Colorado Conservation Corps is and what they do for us. Thank you.
I'm Trevor Wickersham with the Western Colorado Conservation Corps. Thank you, Greg. We are very, very fortunate to be part of the Riverfront Trail and the construction of it. Over since 1999 is when the Conservation Corps we were based on the original civilian conservation corps from 1939 to 1941. We still use the crew model. I know quite a few of you here actually use conservation corps in your projects, so I appreciate the choir here. Western Colorado Conservation Corps started in Mesa County in 1999. At that time, we became involved in the Riverfront Trail. Since 1999, we've employed about 145 youth on these projects. They've earned just over $175,000 in AmeriCorps education awards to use for higher education. We try to hire and employ local youth. 94% of our kids come from Mesa County or come from Western Colorado. We try not to recruit from outside of this area, so we keep the money local. Based on the Youth Corps job training model, we actually hired 2 crews the last week. We put through CPR first aid training, chainsaw training, herbicide training, fence building training, species identification, chipper training, everything that they're going to do on the trail. We try to teach before they get up. And the Corps member benefits, basically what I was just going over. The big thing they get out of working with Mesa County and other land agencies through this project is they get employed. Right now, between 16 and 25, the unemployment rate for that in Mesa County age group is 22%. We're able to put kids to work, get them a paycheck, and get them re-engaged with the county and with the outdoors. Why use the Conservation Corps? So I'm kind of saying the same thing again. Professional training for youth and young adults. Besides the training we give them, they get to work with Greg, the county, Colorado Parks and Wildlife, the city, Grand Junction, those guys, and see what they actually do for a living, experience what they do, hopefully move on to better and bigger things with those guys. Over the last 5 years, we've had 27 of our Corps members go on to federal land agencies and secure employment with them through our programs. Combat the rising unemployment, where was that? Re-engaging youth and young adults in the outdoors. We have had some Corps members that we go and do a Riverfront Trail. We cut out the tamarisk, and that was their home about a week before. So we had to help them find a new place to live. A lot of homeless kids working for us, but they have a job now, and they can go somewhere else to live. They're indoors with plumbing and all that good stuff. But then these kids, they work on the Riverfront Trail for 8 to 10 weeks at a time, and then they'll go work on other projects. We do a lot of trail building on the monument. We had a trail crew up there for 10 kids last year, and 3 of them never been to the monument. They worked in Grand Junction their whole life. So trying to get re-engaged on what's available in the county to go see. Creates great opportunities for using the Youth Corps. GOCO gives preference points for using or including a conservation core in their products. So we really appreciate that too. Selective restoration with invasive impact. Obviously, our crews are not a bulldozer. They don't go through and tear out every single plant. We have natives that we can transplant. We can go about 10 feet on either side of the trail and take out the tamaris, take out the rationales, take out what shouldn't be there. And then we can take the slash off-site. We have chippers, we have trailers that we can chip it into the trailers and take it off and dispose of it. Reduce costs by in-kind matches and funds. We also get support from AmeriCorps, from United Way in Mason County, Chevron, Excel, a bunch of those guys for our training, for our education, for our safety equipment, for our corps members. So we can include that in-kind matching funds to help get these projects. This is our typical work crew. We have kids that are homeless. We have kids just graduated college. We have single parents. We have a whole gamut of everything and anything. It's learned a lot. First step was cutting the route. Greg had their surveyors go through and mark a center line. We try to cut about 20 feet on each side of the center line. You can see the first couple of days that you barely see the corps members in there and trying to get them spread out and get a good path cut is always challenging. Clearing the opening of the path, it's kind of the same thing. Our chippers, disposing of all the slash. Revegetation, willow staking. That's another big thing we do with like the Bureau of Reclamation is the revegetation. Either call it the cottonwoods, the willow plantings, and any kind of other woody species that Mason County or wherever the landowner is wants in that area. We have hydraxes that kind of help us do some of that work, but we have augers, buckets, a pot of slave labor basically. Get some shredded stuff down, put it in the ground. Revegetation, HYDROSEEDing, forest wrapping, cottonwoods and some willows to keep the beavers away. We did a project down with Dolores. It was 2 years ago. We planted 5,000 willow plantings, and the beaver left about 10 of them standing after about a week. So that worked really well. But some other places it works great. Again, thank you from Mason County, Western Colorado Conservation Corps, and please enjoy your project.